Okay, Ricardo, thanks very much for coming and having a chat with us. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Before we met, before we first started chatting, you had an idea of some things that you wanted to change. So what was the reason that you wanted to make some changes in the first place? How were you feeling about yourself before you started making the changes and got involved in the program?
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity, Dean. I think, first of all, it's important to notice that, I'm a person linked to high performance sport, and I was all my life. So I've been used to, having 2 sessions per day, 7 days per week, until I was 25, 26 years old. So I was very fit, very active, and almost, constantly doing something. And then life got a bit in the way. I've changed career. I've moved from the inside the court to the outside of the court. I'm now a coach, and the 2 kids came over, and I got a bit sitting around in the office, working a lot, analyzing videos and all that stuff. So the practical element of my life started to fade away. Moved countries, the pressures of that change as well impacted heavily on my day-to-day organization. So something had to give, and what gave was precisely the sports side of things and the practical side of things. So when I contacted you, I was finding myself pretty much frustrated with the changes that I was noticing in my body, and the reflection that had on my mindset and on my day-to-day report with the people that surrounded me. So pretty much heavy and grumpy, and trying to find excuses that would underpin that status quo and not necessarily acting to change it.
Yeah. Okay, man. So when you were in the process of getting started and we were talking about the program and whether it was right for you, what kind of apprehensions did you have about getting started with something like this, if there was any at all?
Well, there was precisely due to the fact that, first of all, having a bit of management of expectations was key from my end. Coming from an area of doing, a lot of sport to zero. There's always that level of expectation that you're going to recover whatever you had in the past fairly quickly. And because of that, I've been frustrated with other programs and attempts, and frustrated because you can't go back to what you were if your context is completely different, doing the same things you did. So in essence, basically, I came from programs that were very prescriptive, and they were almost shame and blame whenever you missed those targets, and you kind of went through your weeks feeling guilty that you were not delivering what they were asking from you. And my concerns were that I was going to embark in the same sort of journey in terms of the demands of the program, in terms of how it made you feel whenever you failed, or whenever you couldn't commit to all the habits or the workouts that were programmed. That was my main concern when I started chatting to you and trying to understand what entailed this.
Yeah, quite right. That is quite intimidating for a lot of people. I think it's a common apprehension that a lot of people have. Is this going to be a life overhaul? Am I going to be able to sustain this whilst holding down my career, my profession, my kids, my family, etc. On that note, Ricardo, how did you actually find the program once you got started?
Well, I think to start with, I think the fact that you've had a quite an open stance. I quite study the way we engage with players on my own career, and the open-ended questions that you've used to try and probe the reasons that underpin my research for this program, and and trying to understand how my context was without being invasive, but at the same time allowing me to expand on those to try and paint a picture was quite helpful. So sometimes you're confronted with quite straight and direct questions about your life that when they're you might not want to expose yourself straight away. So I think first of all it started with the way you've approached the conversation, which was quite good, at least from my personal point of view. And then that was the kicking start of a program that I found to be exactly what I needed for my context, and for several reasons. But the main one, because it enabled you to actually commit to it without fear of failure, or fear of being vulnerable by not being able to achieve this or that target or this or that habit in the time set. So I think the flexibility of it was probably the key point at that stage, and at this stage today still is, that is differentiating from all the other programs I've done in the past, or I've tried to do in the past. And I'm actually, curiously, more committed to it because of that flexibility than I would. Usually you do, when you're forced to do things, they usually don't work that well. And when you actually can do it from your own motivation, it's easier and you commit further to it. And I think this is the case.
Yeah, glad to hear it. Good stuff. So what would you say are some of the things that you really like about the program and your experience so far?
Look, first of all, I like that it's realistic in terms of the targets that it demands. I think it's realistic not only on a personal and individual point of view, but I think it's realistic for a broader context of a dad over 30 that has a life, and I think the fact that it's not 24/7 controlled environment, counting calories, you have to do this, you have to do that, I think the flexibility and the fact that it's a relaxed approach helps a lot. If you can't do it today, do it tomorrow. If you fall down the bandwagon this weekend, there's always time to catch up. The next week, you just need to do that bit of extra effort. So there's no, as I said earlier, there's no blame and shame. You can actually allow yourself to slip down the road because you need to live. You've got kids, and although you're doing this for them and for yourself, the fact is you're living a life at the same time. And, if you want to eat a burger or an ice cream, just go for it. It's not, you won't feel bad about it because, you're in a group that supports each other and that everyone is having the same, I think, issues, and everyone is falling sometimes into those ice creams and pizzas and whatever, which are not a problem whatsoever. And that I do love now and then still. So yeah, that's a key aspect.
Lockdown would be pretty tough without ice cream, mate.
No, completely.
Okay, Ricardo, thanks for that, mate. So
no problem.
With all that in mind, what are some of the physical results that you've seen and achieved so far, and how are you feeling about yourself now?
Listen, first of all, the main results aren't physical. The main results are, although there are clear physical results, I think the mindset is the key change, at least for me personally. I wouldn't mind, not losing weight if I managed to change my mindset and the way that impacted on my rapport with the people that are around me. And that was, for me, the key win, was, losing that grumpiness of someone who's feeling, bad about himself and trying to find reasons for it. Now, feel good, and that impacts on the relations I have with my kid, with my partner, and everyone that surrounds me, including my players. But obviously there are changes physically. I've lost weight. I lost a huge amount of centimeters around the belly. Well, what everyone else is looking for from a physical point of view. It's a couple of sizes down on clothing. But that's not my main gain. Yep. I think it's on the mental level and the way that change impacts on the rapport with the people that surround me.
I'm so glad to hear that, mate. And you've thoroughly deserved those progress and that impact that it's had, because you put the work in. So well done, mate. What would you say to anyone who's watching or listening to this and who's in the situation that you were previously on the fence? They aren't sure, they've maybe get some of the same apprehensions that you had before. What would the advice be for you to give them to act on now?
Well, I think the first thing you need to do is, well, if you're looking for programs, that means you realize there's a problem. Otherwise, you wouldn't be looking for them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeing this video. So that's the first step. You know there's a problem. Now it's a question of actually making the jump. And it couldn't be easier than having someone like Dean who facilitates that on a very friendly and relaxed manner, but also, and that's an add-on, also that guarantees that you're going to have your money back if you're not happy with the results. So, you know, it's a no-brainer. Just go for it, because you know you've got the problem and it's up for you to sort it. No one else will do it for you.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Ricardo.
No
I really
problem.
appreciate it. Well done on all the progress that you've made so far. You've been an
Thank
inspiration
you.
for a lot of the guys. Thank you very much.